I worked at Burger King as my first job. I was in high school. Now, being that this was my first job, I took it very, very seriously. I think I still might have the picture of my first ever paycheck, which is now definitely.
That's a big deal. Hell yeah.
Yeah, it was like $127 whole dollars, man. That was like, I've got this to spend. Being that young, of course, when you have a choice to spend your own money, it might not necessarily be on the best things, right? You might blow your money because you're a kid, right?
Yeah.
So, I was a kid who blew my money that time a couple times on acid for me and my friend at the time. And
dude, honestly, just to pause for a sec, like I have never heard of a better use of someone's first paycheck as a kid than a couple times of acid. Like you are real as fuck for that one. Hell yeah. You got off to a strong start, MJ.
Yeah, thank you for that. Thank you for that compliment.
This is Modern Day Hippie. We are your homies who've done nearly every drug under the sun. Over 600 psychedelic trips and nearly every kind of bender you can possibly imagine have armed us with a universe of knowledge. I'm Yuki, and with my co-host Reggie, we talk about how we do drugs in a responsible, safe, and fun way to improve our lives. Before we dive in, and so we don't get sued, a quick legal disclaimer.
This podcast is for educational and informational purposes only. Our goal is to educate and inform others about the realities of substance use in an engaging and entertaining format. We share these experiences so you can learn from them without trying them yourself. By listening to this podcast, you agree not to attempt to recreate anything found in this episode or in any of our other content. We are not confessing to any acts stated in this podcast. The content in this episode should not be treated as factual or real in any way.
With that, we welcome you through our portal and hope you enjoy the show.
What's up, hippies? Hope you're having a vibey day so far. Today on the podcast, like usual, we have my good friend and co-host Reggie, but we have another very special guest on the podcast for the very first time. Reggie, you want to do us the honor of a quick intro?
So this is my lovely wife, who y'all may have heard the story of us proposing while on shrooms.
You proposed.
Yeah, of me proposing. She goes by Mary Jane or MJ. So yeah, excited to have her on.
Super excited to be here, even though it might not sound like it. I just get nervous.
Well, MJ, want to give you a big warm welcome to the pod. Obviously, you've been Reggie's wife for not a very long time. You guys just got recently married and then engaged not too long before that, which is awesome. Great to have you as part of Reggie's family and honestly, our little MDH family that we have going on right here.
Thank you, Yuki. I appreciate that warm welcome because I am, like I said, a little nervous, but excited to be here on the pod. I listened to it prior to our marriage, but had multiple times where I felt like, I had a story for that episode, but I'd be listening to it like while cleaning or honestly, I've never actually watched the live feed. I'm going to be honest. I'm very sorry if that hurt you a little bit. But I had a couple ideas when I would listen to certain episodes, and I felt weird at first bringing it up to him. And Reggie was like, "Hey, you want to be on the pod for me today?" And I was like, "Wait, what?" Okay, I guess you kind of got to get married, and then there's that invite. So thanks for welcoming me into the VIP club.
That's the barrier to entry. Absolutely.
And with that, I'm actually gonna let you go, babe, because as you know, and I guess telling the viewers, I had surgery this morning, so definitely on one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
AKA our boy Reggie is barred out right now. Super. Hopefully you're having a good time and you're fatty chilling, man.
You definitely overdid it with the Xanax.
Did you eat that whole pizza you ordered?
Yeah. But they were like, yeah, we don't really need to give you any, but like you can have like this many. I think it was 3. Like you can have up to 3. And I was like, okay. And so then every time they offered me more, I just took more.
All right, MJ. Well, I know that you have your fair share of drug-related experiences. I would say that was probably a pretty big part of the reason why you and Reggie got along so well in the first place. You have that common background that I know is really important to him and to me as well.
Definitely. I don't want to. So I definitely recreationally took indulgence in things, but unfortunately, I was not an age where that was appropriate, right?
Yeah.
And I'm talking anything under the developing brain. Like, you should just not be anywhere near that stuff. So, and with that little disclaimer, I would also like to say, story I do have for the pod today involves me at work.
Hell yeah.
Well, not actually currently on, but coming off of a certain substance. And so, yeah, nor do I suggest anybody go to work on or currently on or coming off of when they think they're totally good, even if maybe they didn't like sleep the night before. Definitely not a good idea. Definitely don't drive. Definitely just keep it safe. I feel like you shouldn't have to say that stuff, but you should anyway, even if you don't have to, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And as you guys know, we are massive proponents of safe drug use. Do drugs to have fun, to get something out of it, but don't put yourself in danger. Don't be an idiot. Be smart about your drug usage.
Listen from our stories and some of our, and
Ooh.
especially mine, because I've got a lot of lessons, right? Which definitely learned on this one. So my first job was at Burger King. I don't know if I'm
BK.
BK.
Have it your way? Is that what it was?
Okay, but don't get crazy. No, I come off as a goody two shoes because I am kind of, right? Well, whatever. Let's not get into that today. Anywho's, so I worked at Burger King as my first job. I was in high school. Now, being that this was my first job, I took it very, very seriously. I think I still might have the picture of my first ever paycheck, which is now definitely.
That's a big deal. Hell yeah.
Yeah, it was like 127 whole dollars, man. That was like, I've got this to spend. Being that young, of course, when you have a choice to spend your own money, it might not necessarily be on the best things, right? You might blow your money because you're a kid, right?
Yeah.
So, well, I was a kid who blew my money that time a couple times on acid for me and my friend at the time. And
dude, honestly, just to pause for a sec, like, I have never heard of a better use of someone's first paycheck as a kid than a couple of tabs of acid. Like, you are real as fuck for that one. Hell yeah. You got off to a strong start, MJ.
Yeah, thank you for that. Thank you for that compliment. I don't want to boast on it, but there's nothing like knowing as many people as you know in high school or college, right? And being able to have those connections like at your fingertips instantly. But especially in high school, when y'all are trapped in a building for the same 8 hours a day, right? Who knows people who can do things, so on and so forth. So actually, it was the same week I got paid. I hadn't deposited my check. I didn't even know how. I was 16, right? Like, what do I do with this thing? How does it mean it's money, right? So deposit my check. I go to school, and my friend's like, oh, I know a guy who knows a guy who knows a guy, yada, yada. After school, we actually, were able to get it that day. And I was like, oh, you know what? It's the end of the week. Like, it's Friday. We ain't even got school. I do got to work tomorrow, but it's a little short shift. It's like, I think it was at 1 p.m., 2 p.m. maybe. And I was like, I'll be good. So, yeah, we were bounding off on our journey of this weekend, we're gonna do some acid, we're gonna chill, we're gonna vibe, we're gonna listen to music, because my house was the chill spot and my room specifically was the vibe. I had a blacklight posters when those were big. I'm cringing telling everybody this right now. I'm like, please.
That sounds like a vibe, dude.
Just that kid. Yes. So it just became a different vibe, especially when you wanted that kind of vibe, right?
Yeah.
Cultivated. So definitely had the environment, had the substances, had the vibes. And when doing acid, you don't really need snacks. I don't know. Some people do. I'm never a person that can really eat.
Dude, okay. I'm so glad you said that, because I am the same way. And I think Reggie is the opposite. He loves eating on acid. And me, when I'm eating on acid, I feel like I'm tasting each individual ingredient, and it's just Turns me off.
It's too overstimulating for me. I'm like, this isn't even food. What am I doing? Like the fact that I'm chewing and then swallowing and my body's processing this and it's going to be energy. I'm like, oh wait. And I've just taken my first initial bite. So I'm like, no,
Yeah, no.
actually not. It's just, and then everybody's like, oh, isn't this the best thing you've ever had? And then they take 1 or 2 bites of it. I don't know if you've ever been with friends that go to like, one time we had a trip sitter who went to Whataburger for us and
Nice.
everybody wanted, oh, I want this. And 1 bite, 2 bites. And it was just like out on the table for the rest of the night. And I was like, I remember walking by it later and being sad for the sandwich. Now like in that level of
Yeah.
coming
Nice.
down. So I was like, man, we got all that food and we just waste.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, back to the trip that anywho's. So it is trip night. We are tripping as one does when they take acid. Original paper tabs. I was feeling pretty good. It was a mild trip. Now I'm pretty positive now. So in 2020 hindsight, it was definitely not some pure LSD. It was not. It was most definitely some kind of research chemical. It's 25I, 25B, A, B, C, D, E. We won't get into that. Anyway, it was a mild, more euphoric feeling other than hallucinogenic experience, but I, for some reason, cannot ever sleep. When I do psychedelics, I know that I have to, how do you say, plan a day or 2 days after because I'm just not. And then when you're 16 and you don't really eat well or take care of yourself, right? You don't go to sleep, right? And you're like, I'll be good. I'm good. Like I'm young. I'm resilient. I can bounce back. So I didn't go to sleep that night, right? And I came down, or so I thought. I came down. I wasn't, having visuals. Nothing was breathing or waving on the walls. There weren't patterns on anything anymore. So I was like, I was just in a good mood. It was going to be a good day with no sleep. And I did drugs the day before and did not hydrate properly. Ended up saying, you know what? I'm definitely good to go to work. Got dropped off.
Did you feel tired at all by that point? You said work is at like 1 p.m. You stayed up all night. You were in this like afterglow.
It was this weird, I think I was still high off of the energy from tripping with another person, tripping with my best friend, and like the laughs and the vibes. It kind of just kept me thinking my body wasn't exhausted because my mind was still going. I don't know if you've ever experienced this at the end of a trip, but when everything starts to jumble together and you need sleep, like you're like, these thoughts are, oh, my brain is mashed potatoes right now.
Yeah, no, dude, my phrase for that is that sleep deprivation is a hell of a drug.
It's real. It makes you hallucinate more. I would say not more. I don't know.
It's like being drunk. It is literally like being drunk. Proven.
It's way more dangerous to drive tired. I'm not going to say.
It depends. How tired or how drunk.
Exactly. Which are measurements we shouldn't be testing, right?
No, let's not.
So, yeah, I thought I was mentally good to go. And physically, my body was just kind of keeping up with me. And I didn't, go on a marathon while I was tripping. So I was like, this'll be cake, It's a 4-hour shift, which now I'm like, oh, 4-hour shift. No, but we get, I get dropped off and I get in and I'm chilling. I've already convinced myself, mind over matter. I've already told myself like, I'm totally good. It's not like, no, I'm good, man. No, I'm actually like totally good to go. My friend at the time was like, are you sure? And I was like, no, I'm sure. Like, I just feel like happy. Like I'm going to have a good day.
Yeah.
So what I think I'm doing is like killing it, bro. Like I'm there for about an hour and then I'm working the drive-thru that day. And my sweet, sweet little customer service voice, hi, thank you for choosing Burger King. How can I help you today? Is very very prominent and was a lot more prominent when I could fake it a lot better. Now I'm a little too real with the world to be like doing all that. But any hoozles. So I think I'm killing it in the drive-thru because rush hour hits. It's a probably like, I would say like late afternoon, early dinner time. And all of a sudden my manager comes up to me and he's like, "Are you good?" And that question, I remember feeling like time stopped. And I remember hearing it like echo in my mind. And I was like, am I good right now? Like, I started looking around and then I look at the wall next to me, which had all like these OSHA signs and everything. I'm ignoring the signs. I'm looking at the wall and I'm like, that fucking wall's moving.
No.
Not okay. I am not good, you know? And I think I had like two different drinks in my hand because the way it was set up, it was like the cashier station in front of me and I would turn around and it was the drink station. So as soon as or while I'm getting orders over the little monitor, I could get their drinks or I could be ahead of the game and then have their drinks set up. It was pro level shit. Okay. I was a good worker except for that day. So, he's staring at me for what feels like, I don't even know, like 5 minutes. It was probably less than 5 seconds. And he's like, do you need to take a break or something? And I just remember my eyes, like I was so overwhelmed thinking I was killing it. And like, I was like, I had a handle on everything to being asked if I was good. And that question was all of a sudden like world shattering, right? I was like, I'm not good, actually. Holy shit. What's fucking happening right now? But I just looked at him and I was like, no, but I didn't say anything. I was just like, and my eyes started watering because I was just like, oh, I was so scared and so embarrassed. And I was like, what am I doing here? I didn't sleep last night. What the fuck's going on? So I go to the break room and I don't know how things work when you're, I'm 16 with my first job, right? So I'm like, they're like gonna fire me or they know, right? I'm like freaking out. And I'm like,
that's scary.
but I'm crying in the break room when in reality, you know, if your manager comes up to you in the workplace and asks if you're good and you need to take a minute, you go to the break room and take a minute, you compose yourself or you know, reflect, am I good? And then you go back out and you continue working because, you know, that's what you need to do. Or vice versa. You're like, actually, like I'm going through so much that I can't provide the quality work I want. So go home. Me, no. I was tired. And at this point, I had admitted to myself that I was no longer good and it spiraled so quickly. I was like trying to quietly bawl my fucking eyes out.
Wow.
I was like, I just want to go home. And I'm like 16, so I'm feeling like even more young, you know, than I am.
Yeah.
But I won't be coy with you. Reflecting on this story even more in depth right now is like, I was not good. So I think I called my mom who had dropped me off at work. And I don't remember, she was missing in action, MIA, for being able to pick me up. But my grandmother had to come and pick me up, which was a whole nother, like, that's my, you know, like I wasn't going to tell her that it was, no, you don't tell, not grandma. Like,
Never,
no.
never grandma.
Not my nana. So I definitely had to just tell her I was overworked and overtired and that I was really upset, but just crying because I was tired, right? Which to her, and now it's crazy saying that out loud because it was like a uncommon concept for her to understand. Like, you're tired or you're crying because you're tired? Like, that's not sad. Just go to sleep, you know? So looking back, it's one of the most interesting encounters of my psychedelic usage, especially when it came to one being that I was underage, right? And I wasn't doing the chemicals that I was paying for. So it wasn't giving me the right kind of experience. Those research chemicals, unless data proves that they aren't as safe, right? You don't know how much you're taking if you don't even know the guy you're getting it from, right?
Yeah, and like you don't even know what you're taking in the first place.
Exactly. And it can all be really, really scary. Now, I cannot say I learned my lesson about being, I would say, under the influence at work. Now, if you consider things like weed a drug, I don't fuck with you. No, I'm just kidding.
No, I mean, dude, it's
Wanna,
just
like, be high on weed and accomplish things, good for you. Now, should you put yourself in a place of jeopardy? Absolutely not. And you, unfortunately, most of the time don't know you're in jeopardy until your manager walks up to you and asks, "Are you good?"
yeah. Yeah.
I swear, it was like, "Are you good?"
No, I'm picturing exactly the scene and shot from a movie, how that happened. Yeah. I'm also curious, like, when you were taking those orders on the drive-through, did you feel like that was any more difficult or easy or fun or anything like that in comparison to a normal, like, sober, well-rested shift?
I would have to say there was absolutely no difference because it was so, I want to say second nature, right? But it's not second nature. It was just so robotic, right? Person
Right.
tells you what they want, you click the button on the screen, it was, I had a script down to a T with my customer service voice, you know what I mean? Like it was, I
Right.
had already put my little personal spin. Okay, thank you. See you at the first window. Like,
Yeah.
or there was actually never anyone working at the first window. I don't know if most food places have those because half the time they're like, pull up to the second window and
Yeah.
you're like waiting outside the first window. Like, yeah. But yeah, I would say it definitely was not difficult, but and to this day, I'll never know why. My manager came up to me and asked me if I was good. Reflecting on it could have been the fact that I was probably moving a pace I wasn't used to moving, or like I was probably doing things a lot more rapidly, trying to get them done and like be on top of it, right? I'm coming down off of drugs, so I'm trying to prove that I'm not on drugs to everyone who doesn't even know, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That paranoia sets in. So you're like, I don't even know how crazy I could have looked.
Yeah. Yeah. And then did your manager or anyone from work ever bring it up in the future? It was kind of like a one and done.
No, they never brought it up again. I
Nice.
think maybe because I was crying and so I
Mm,
was like saying like I need to go home. They were like, "Ooh, something probably is just like personally going on with her in her life," which was, in hindsight really respectable of them. Or they were like, "Not my business, got to get this a dinner rush." I don't know.
yeah. Yeah. Fair. Well, I'm sure it was kind of like a pretty small thing that made your manager ask what was going on. But I can also totally understand how, as a 16-year-old, having just come off of an experience like that where you haven't slept in like 36 hours and you're coming down
Oh,
off some weird
you had
psychedelic
gone.
trip.
Yeah. Whole day. And you like to believe most of the time that it's like mind over matter. And that is I'm a big believer personally in that myself. So it's kind of hard sometimes when that is just shattered, right? But I think it does like really, really hone into the fact that, my brain was still developing. These chemicals were not necessarily good for my brain. Right.
Yeah.
I think that, like I said, I learned my lesson as far as psychedelics, sleep, and I still probably suck at hydrating myself. So working on that, but like,
Yeah, I think that's one we can all work on.
I did not learn my lesson, I guess. So if you do consider things like weed a drug, I worked at IHOP for a long time after Burger King. I thought I was making a big step up. It was just down the street, actually. It was still pretty convenient to get to, but I was at an age where I could drive. So being that I worked the overnight shift, if we had a bar rush at like 2 a.m, and then it was dead by 3 or 3:30, I'm outside smoking a blunt. I am
Nice.
outside smoking a fucking blunt before I go and bust all of those tables. Because it's only the server and a manager
Yeah.
most nights. And that's why restaurants, a lot of them, don't stay open. That and ever since they can't really afford to. But yeah, so I would be working all these overnight shifts, and in the middle of my shift, I'm getting pretty stoned. But that made cleaning and being there alone by myself so much more enjoyable.
Right.
Like, I learned so many weird old songs that would just play on repeat. I learned how to change the radio, so I didn't have to listen to the same songs. It made it, I would say, if there were a bunch of people, say it's the opposite, right? Say I think it's going to be dead, I go out and smoke, and then I get a car pull in, 2 car, 3 car. I'm in the worst mood ever. I am no longer even
Mm.
stoned. I'm like, of course, I'm still doing the whole customer service. Like, thank you. Okay, please. Yes. Okay, I got you. No problem. Like, I think it's kind of like ingrained in me,
Mm.
but just as a mix of manners and then a mix of professionalism, right? But everybody knows when you're high, right? You know when your waitress is like, and you're there at 2 a.m. because you're
Hey, you would think, but I feel like most adults don't even consider that. So I think unless you're acting really weird, they
oh
probably
yeah,
wouldn't
no, I'm
notice.
talking like the 2 a.m., 3 a.m. IHOP customers, you
True.
know? None of those people are really that normal. But that's
True.
why we're all up right now, right? That's
Yes.
why you're here and I'm about to go take the order. My manager's about to go cook it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a give and a take. But after that job, it was like in my current job, I couldn't imagine showing up any sorts of under the influence of absolutely anything.
No,
Like,
nor should you. I'm
yeah,
glad you stopped it at the.
you're in the workplace, right? You're there. Don't be fucking high. And what are you doing being a teenager in an adult world? Like, stop, chill. But it's like you learn from it, I guess. I'm not necessarily saying you got to do it to learn from it, right? But maybe you know someone, maybe you have a coworker, right? And you're like, dude, that dude always reeks. He always smells like weed. Like, it's just not a good look. Like, and then I couldn't imagine if it's like not weed, right? And you can tell someone's on some other shit, some really dangerous shit. And you're like, should they even be in charge of like doing things? Taking
Yeah.
driving? Obviously not driving. So, like it's scary to think about in the world of doing drugs at work.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that we can all learn from your experiences and hopefully not have those happen for any of our listeners or us. Yeah, but thank you for sharing your stories, MJ. It was very, very positive to hear them, and I'm glad that you've turned over a new leaf into your adult life.
So many leaves, right?
Good. Awesome. And thank you for joining us on the pod today. We appreciate it, and I'm sure we'll have you back in the near future.
I'm excited to share some other stories, hopefully with Reggie here with me as well. Sorry for the background right now. We are currently working on it.
Yeah, no, you're good. Thanks for listening, guys. That's today's pod.
You've been listening to Modern Day Hippie. As you exit the portal, we have just one small ask of you. If you learned something new today, had a laugh, or resurfaced a drug story of your own, we want to hear about it. Drop us a comment on YouTube and show us some love on your favorite podcasting platforms. Internet algorithms really dog on us because of the topics that we discuss, so your support goes even further here than you might think. We'll catch you next week.